Welcome to Stories with Dice. This is the Dark Blue Sea, a Mutant Year Zero actual play podcast. If you're enjoying our actual plays, please subscribe to Stories with Dice so you'll never miss an episode. Don't forget to rate and review us. It really helps others discover the podcast. Follow us on social media to stay updated, share your thoughts, and join the conversation. You'll find the relevant links in the description of each episode.
Hi, welcome to our third episode of Mutant Year Zero. Just like to say hi to my lovely players. Hi, lovely players. Pete.
Hi.
We're joined by Douglas.
Hi.
And Chris.
Hello.
You may have noticed that there is no Marco. Marco is off swanning around somewhere enjoying whatever he happens to be doing. He couldn't join us tonight, so I'm afraid you've got me recording everything. Well, wonder how well that goes. So yes, thank you for joining us again for this third episode. We have done some stuff offline prior to the game. We had done some stuff for the project for the arcs, and you'd be pleased to know that they have managed to succeed in their very first project, which means that they have shored up the defenses around the ship that has been stranded on the shore. And because of that, I'm going to ask Pete to roll me 2d6, and you're going to add that to your warfare and development level for your thing.
Right, we got 8 altogether.
Excellent.
Pretty good.
That is brilliant. So that actually means that you've managed to increase your warfare to a very respectable 9. No, that's not right. It'll be 12, to a respectable 12, which is great. Also, considering it's the beginning of the first session, or the next session, you need to make a d6 roll to tell me how many people in the arc perish.
Am I in charge of the deaths again then?
No. We'll let Douglas be in charge of the deaths.
As long as it's in charge and not responsible, I can live with that.
50-50 there, mate. I'm not really sure. Why?
D6 was it?
Yes, please.
3.
Excellent. We're down to 191 people in the arc. And Chris, I'd also like you for me to please roll me a d6. If it's a 1 or a 6, one of the main NPCs croaks.
We don't want that to happen. Was it a 1?
Excellent. We like that. Because it's a 1, this is where we'll see whether or not any of you have got any friends or enemies that pick it up. Could someone roll me another d6?
And another 1.
Okay, well, that's from the lawkeepers. So, turns out that one morning you find one of the lawkeepers' enforcers has come to a grisly end. They found Scooter face down in the water. Scooter is no more.
Oh, not Scooter. He was my third favorite lawkeeper.
So yes, he was found dead in the floor. No one knows what happened to him. Looks like he's drowned, but no one knows how.
If we were still afloat, that would be a bit less mysterious than now that we're on land.
Exactly. So we'll start, right? Time to do some exploration. Now, I believe that Chris's character, remind me again, what is your character's name, Chris?
Moss, the reptilian guy.
That is the one. Excellent. So Moss has been doing some exploration under and around the shore where the ship is beached, trying to use some diving equipment that they found, and unfortunately has not been successful and ended up hurting themselves in the process. But while down there, you did see that apparently there is parts of a ruin which is under the water, so that could potentially be something to explore. And the ruin itself seems to head westward through and past the island on the map. So if I ping it on the map, you'll see that it is to the next square along past the island. It potentially goes into further ruins under the water. How you get to those ruins under the water, I don't know, but that's something you find.
That's
Other than that,
cool.
After last session, you kind of went south and decided to leave the very large dead woods full of spider webs well alone, but you can still explore eastwards, southeast, or you can try and scout around to the southwest, but that means you're going to have to go through the wonderful spider
will the spiders extend all the way to the coast, or could we skirt around if we stayed very close to the water?
You could try and skirt around and hope for the best. I guess I'm going to ask you, what do you want to do with Marco? We have to ask that very question very much. So what is Caspian going to be doing? Are you going to be taking Caspian with you, considering that, he's probably still not completely well? Or are you going to leave Caspian behind? Because Caspian is the one that can actually get you through these things. And you'll just have to rely on yourselves.
Are any of the small boats available at the moment? Because he could take us across and stay with the boat while we explore. I think it's west, is it?
We could do that. I'm sure you can have a look. Let's see. Caspian is going to he is going to attempt to speak to someone, and he does. He ends up speaking to the mechanics, who are more than happy to provide you with. Mark is very upset there because I've rolled the public roll instead of a private roll. And so you do actually have access to one of the small boats. Who can sail this boat? What's your ability to sail like?
I was hoping Marco.
Well, let him do everything, right? That seems a bit harsh, right?
Is this now the zone then?
Yeah, this is a long zone, so you can just kind of navigate across to the side. That is not a problem.
That would not be Cochrane. That's 0 for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't necessarily... Is this one of the ones that I have to have, or would I just be okay rolling with? Although, of course, now that I've got the bins, that's not great either.
Yes, please. If you'd like to give that a go, that'd be great. So I would like for you someone to roll wits, whoever that might be, because it's actually a sail. Someone needs to use agility.
I can try that.
Cool. Between the two of you, you can kind of figure that out. It's not exactly the rules for the game, but I quite like the idea of someone trying to navigate and the other person actually doing the sort of rope work for the sails. It seems to make more sense to me. And this becomes like a joint thing.
Attempt to inspire someone to make their role better.
That seems like a good idea. So why don't you
sing a
roll...
sea shanty?
Okay, so...
Yeah, my agility didn't go very well.
All the failures.
Well, Douglas, if you want to roll for your inspire...
We really do need Cochrane. But we're crap without you.
No, that is not. I got nothing on the inspire, and I think nobody else got anything either.
No, you will kind of work really hard to try and get this. No, we can do this. It's not a problem. You kind of no, you want to do that, and having no clue how to actually sail, which kind of confuses things more. Caspian kind of watches for a short while, and then sort of takes the lead a little bit. He believes that you need to understand how you do this first before doing anything else, and he helps you to sail the ship. Although it turns out that most of you are not what you would call sailors, because presumably that you would leave to the other gangs to do that. That's not been your forte. But yeah, you managed to sort of follow along the coastline, and I'm going to just clear the path here for you to give you an idea. Hopefully you can kind of see this happening. So if everyone else listening, I'm just revealing the next bit on the map for them. You should hopefully see that I've cleared the path for you into the next zone. Excellent. So let us see what we see. Right then, as you kind of make your way into the zone, I have made a roll for Margot's character. And yeah, you head towards this craggy rock line. You can see just in the distance to the north of the island that separates between this area of land. It's probably about 5 or 6 kilometers just onto the horizon. You can see the island to the north. Yeah, and it's quite craggy and rocky, much like the rest of the island. There are ruins spattered around all over the front of the island as they kind of make their way up. There isn't sort of a beach like there is in the previous zone. It's just more sort of this really craggy kind of broken rocked landing, I guess, as you kind of bring the boat towards it. You can see probably in the distance, you can see a large stick sticking out of the earth. It looks like some large, you've probably seen something similar on other ships, but this is a much bigger version. It's this huge metal construction that kind of has structures leading up to sort of about a quarter of the way up to it, and then it just keeps reaching up into the sky. That's what you can see in the distance. Close to where you are, you can see all these broken rocks, and you can see all the sort of ruins that are kind of around. It looks like the ruins are much like the ruins you saw in the previous zone. Big, large, square ruins. There's not sort of like the ruins that you might have of very small sort of buildings. They're quite large buildings, separated by large open tracts of broken land. I take it you're going to land here, or do you want to continue on along the coast? It's up to you.
Do I think that the ruins look like the stuff I saw underwater? Do I think these are the same structures? Possibly?
No, they are ruins, but they're a different kind of structure than the ones you saw.
So it's not like maybe there was a change of sea level and they continue just below the waterline?
Probably, but they're different looking ruins. There's more of a mixed match of different sizes of ruins. This is a very uniformly large, square, low, but wide ruins. What they were for, you don't know, and you need to really kind of explore them to have some kind of idea. But definitely from the boat, looking at the ruins, you can't really see what they are.
Okay, so we could land, or we could...
You could land.
Keep like map, fill out the map.
You could fill out the map
on down the coast until we see something even more interesting.
You can do that. That's
considering how crap we're at sailing, I'm not sure we want to go on.
I mean, that is also a thing.
But then again, it is right next to spiders. Like, their spiders might have wandered over as well. So do we want to be as far as possible from the chance of spiders before we land? Like, put a decent distance between us?
I mean, if you were to land on the far end of that zone, right towards just on the borderline of the next zone, you're far enough away from the spiders to, at least you hope so, unless they've invaded this section. But from what you can see, what you can see from the boat, you cannot see any other spider webs.
Maybe put a zone between us and them. And then, who knows, maybe there's something more recognizable of use that we see that, because we don't know what that thing is. It could just be a fancy pillar.
Okay, so you want to go through to the next zone. Is that, it's a consensus? You happy to do that?
Yeah, that's my boat.
Yeah.
I'm along for the ride.
Rich? Cool, excellent. Well, in that case, you go onto the next map. Excellent. Well, so who wants to... in fact, I'll do it just because I've done it already. Let's roll for Marco's character to find the path.
He is no longer letting us help anymore.
I mean, Marco's going to be very upset that I keep failing his rolls.
Well, we know nothing. So as far as we're concerned, he knows what he's doing.
He knows exactly what he's doing. Yeah, exactly. So you kind of continue on following the shore. Can I have another wits and another agility roll from you because you guys are using the boat?
Doing well on the agility today.
Yeah, no.
I forget. Can I inspire like multiple times in a session?
You can, I think, if you're in a different zone. So you have to wait for another scene. So essentially, it's taking you 6 hours to go from one zone to the next zone, sort of like as you kind of make your way through.
Because if I can, I'll try and inspire again to hopefully do a bit better. I'll just sing there and sing sea songs.
Okay, yeah, go on then.
I'm being helpful. Okay.
I mean, it cheers everyone up, absolutely. It doesn't really help. Well, ideally, you need to inspire and then you'd roll yours. Yeah, everyone's in good spirits. You start off on the morning, you kind of make your way around of land. You think, actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to continue further around on land. And you do. As you kind of make your way further into the next zone, you're all in high spirits as it sort of starts to get towards midday. And you can see in the far distance another island. But what's really interesting is as you kind of make your way into the zone, you can see sticking out of the water, the tops of some buildings, of some ruins sticking out of the water, the water's lapping around. You can see that the land kind of goes into a bay towards the southern part of the zone. And you can definitely see that there's another island further westwards from where you are.
And Moss, are those the sort of buildings you were seeing underwater over there?
I wonder, are they?
They are a similar kind.
This is exciting.
Well, they seem a bit easier to get access to than holding my breath.
Could we, I don't know how pointy they are. Could we moor the boat to them and explore?
Absolutely, you could. There's no reason why you couldn't do that.
Well, I'd love to do that.
Okay. So you make your way towards the building. So they're probably a good 3 or 4 kilometers offshore. So as you make your way through the zone, you kind of like think, actually, we'll look at those buildings over there. That's where we're going to go. And you do indeed. You make your way towards these buildings sticking out of the water. Again, it's sort of like an ocean, so there's currents and waves and stuff. And as you make your way towards the buildings, someone is going to have to bring the boat in for some kind of mooring, which is going to require someone to make an agility roll. Why not? So who would like to do that?
My record isn't so good so far, but I can give it a go.
Will I give the agility a go just so maybe
sure.
the cycle?
Sure.
All right. It's only a 3 I've got on agility, so it's not great, but so let's go. Yep.
Okay. So as you kind of like make your way towards the thing to moor up, you kind of like catch the bottom of the boat and you hear this horrendous like ripping noise. You're like, oh, what? And you kind of hear like a crunching noise, and then you kind of slam hard into sort of like one of the upright buildings where there's a large gap in the side of the building where you think you can probably moor up. You reckon you've probably done some kind of damage to your
Oh, well, that really is no good at all. I mean, I'm sort of already seeing us stuck here, and we're too far to call for help from home. I'm super excited about exploring this route, but I really think I need to try fix the boat first. Can you guys like go and I don't know, find me a sheet of metal or a wooden plank or something?
Sure, we'll see if we can rustle something up.
Yeah. I assume can we just hop off onto the building and go have a look inside?
Absolutely, you can do. The building is sort of like this large steel and shiny sort of like mirrored surface in some places. Other places all sort of like broken and snapped and shattered. It looks quite dark inside the building, so hopefully you've got some kind of way of illuminating that.
That would be hopeful, wouldn't it? I don't think we do. I don't think I have anything.
No, I'm lacking anything to...
Okay.
Oh, well, I guess
there's probably some light inside.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, we can at least like go a couple of steps in through the hole and see if we can see anything immediately right next to us that is wood or metal that we can drag out.
This is true. Okay. So I'm going to, you're going to go to have a look around. So who wants to step off first onto sort of this large building that's sort of dominating this bit of the water?
I guess I'll go first.
Take a step off. You like dry land. That's nice. It's kind of like, there's probably about a half inch of water that's sort of like flapping around in the building itself. So everything's obviously seems to be sort of like full of water. But inside you can see dark walls. There's a lot of staining that's happened over the years. The sea's kind of risen a little bit and dropped a bit. And so you've kind of clearly can see that a lot of the stuff that's in there has been swept back out to sea. But you can see multiple doors and corridors going in deeper into the building. You can see that through the corridors, there are clearly open doors, and it looks like some of the light is coming through either breaks in the roof or sort of like breaks in the sides of the building. So actually, it's dim light, but you can actually see inside. It just requires you to go for a bit of a wander in there.
I'll initially gingerly start walking in there until my eyes get adjusted to the low levels of light.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably move around with a bit more confidence and see if I can find any materials for patching the boat.
Okay. Would you please like a scout roll from yourself?
Yep. Success.
One success. Okay. Yeah, you start sort of like rummaging around, you kind of looking at things. Cochrane, what are you going to do?
I guess I'll hop off the boat, and if he's going in one direction, I guess I will pick another one and go from that way, cover more ground.
Sure. If you would like to have a look around as well, I mean, why not? Can you also make a scout roll for me?
I don't have scout, so is that, I can't make the roll or just a pure wits?
No, you just a pure wits roll will be fine.
That is 1
success each. Okay. So you kind of like wander in and you're kind of looking around, and you sort of like, as you go through the building, you can clearly see there is very little left. It looks like the wave action has made its way through the building through one side or another. And whatever was in there has pretty much gone. But as you kind of make your way through, you kind of come across what looks like a bolted to the ground box made of some like tough metal. There is a large wheel on the front of the door of this large box, and there is also a smaller wheel off to the side of that. The box itself is probably about 1.5 meters long by about 1.5 meters wide. and it's solidly shut. It looks like it's weird. You put stuff in it, but there's a big wheel and a small wheel. The small wheel has loads of like numbers and stuff around, loads of symbols and stuff around. That's what you've got.
Okay. Does the big wheel by any chance look a bit like the ship's wheel, kind of?
It does a little bit. Yeah, like a very small version of the ship's wheel.
I'll give that, see if anything changes direction if I spin that wheel. Or
It doesn't spin at all. It goes clunk straight away. You're like, clunk.
I guess I will go to the other one and, give that a little twiddle.
It doesn't move at all.
The one of the numbers?
Yes, it doesn't move at all in the slightest.
Can I just try and pull it open?
Yeah,
just
you can.
brute force?
Yeah. You and Roach basically just pull the door open, and the door opens, and a bunch of water comes out. But also, out come a bunch of plastic things. You've seen plastic in the zone before that have got little square pieces of plastic with little square bits of metal, sort of like in the middle of it all. It's a weird looking thing. There's a whole bunch of them. They look like they were originally in a box, but they've kind of been swept in here. There is also in here a couple of what looks like bars of sort of like dull, like golden looking metal. And there is also what looks like a revolver that's all rusted and broken.
Well, I don't think these bars of metal are going to be much use for repairing the boat. These bits of plastic, I don't know if Musk could do something with them.
The bits of plastic are probably about 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches with a little kind of metal thing that slides, or probably did at one point slide across the bottom of it, open and closed.
So not much use unless it's a very small... I'll take the plastic things because, if it's a small hole, we could just plug that in. But the big heavy things, they seem heavy.
They are quite heavy, yep.
They don't seem to be
you should probably,
like iron or anything that I've seen
no
people using. It's very shiny.
Maybe I should drag one out and see what Moss thinks of it.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I think I'll grab that rusty revolver. You never know when they might come in handy.
Okay. Yeah, you grab the rusty revolver. It's definitely not working. It's all kind of corroded and broken. And But yeah, there's that rusty revolver. The two bars of metal and we'll call it, I don't know, 8 disc things, like flat disc things that are made of plastic.
Now that we have the door open, do we have access to the actual hinges?
You probably do, yes.
Could we knock out the hinges and then grab the door? Because that's a nice flat bit of metal.
Yeah, you could probably do that if you want to make a jury rig roll. If you don't have jury rig, you can't do it.
You might want to, I don't know, yell for me to come over and have a look.
I do not have jury rig, so I certainly have that idea, but I have no idea how to accomplish it. I'm like, I would like this door, but I don't know how to get off. I will go ask Moss.
Yep, cool.
So in the meantime, I've just been, sort of getting out of the boat and examining it from the outside, seeing what kind of nature the damage is and what I think I might need to do to fix it.
Okay, yes. So if you'd like to make a jury rig roll for me, just to kind of examine it, that would be great. In fact, instead of using instead of making it strength, you make wits for it. Sorry, I have to tell you, just to kind of have an understanding of what you need to do for it.
So that was a straight wits.
Wits. So that's fine. You don't need any more than that. Yeah, you can see the sort of it's lightly damaged. It's not as bad as you thought. You probably caught the bottom of another building or the top of a building on the bottom of your boat. You reckon, a piece of metal or some wood or something like that will probably be enough to do that. But to do that, you'd have to get in the water and repair the thing underwater, which is fine. You can swim and stuff, so that's not a problem. Yeah, you just need the right tools. Now, do you have any of your jury rig tools to help you?
I mean, I don't actually think I've got them set up with my gear.
Okay, that's fine. So you can jury rig.
But I suppose I should actually have gear for that, shouldn't I?
I tell you what, it makes sense that you would have that on board the boat anyway, like a repair kit, as it were, like the basics of the repair kit. So yeah, you can step aboard the shore and go and help do that. I mean, I'm guessing, Cochrane, you'd go out and tell Moss that, oops, we need someone to help take this thing apart.
But I'll stick a repair kit or a tool belt or something into my gear for safekeeping.
Okay. I mean, you're more than happy to steal this one until you find another repair kit.
Awesome.
Okay, cool. Right. What's the plan?
So, Moss, I think we found a bit of metal that would do you. It's stuck to like a box and I can't get it off. We also found these bits of plastic and some big bars of metal, and the rusty Roach has got a revolver, but I don't think it works.
That is a nice sheet of metal. I think that might just work. How does one get this off the hinges? Let me see.
So you can make a good old-fashioned jury rig using your strengths. So you just need to hit jury rig and that'll automatically give you the roll.
Yeah, I think that's broken in the sheet because it's using just MYZ for the
So you have to
stats.
check.
But I can just roll
change
wits
that.
with the bonus.
It's going to be strength, not wits. I think it's strength without not wits.
It's the same right now, certainly.
Let me just go into your character sheet.
Wait, no, hang on. That did not work.
Right.
Should have
so
come down 5 dice. Why did that not work?
what happened? What was the thing we did last time, Douglas?
To edit the skill, you right click on it,
Change the attribute
edit,
to
and then
whatever
change
one
the
it needs to
attribute.
be.
Great, thank you.
There you go. Now you should be able to roll, and then there we go.
Woohoo!
Yes.
That's
So
a one success.
you basically work out how the hinges work. You pull off the inside sheeting of the door, which seems quite sturdy and stuff, and you will drag it across back to the boat. Cool. You then need to repair the boat. If you would very much like to repair it, I'm going to ask you to make a repair with 2 successes, because you have to do that while the boat is in the water. So you have to do it from underneath. If
But
anyone
since this is a repair, I'll be able to use my tinkering talent, right?
Absolutely, you can do that.
That's brilliant.
Can I just assist? Because I'm not doing anything at the moment.
You can.
Also, I'm part wood. I float.
I like that.
Sure. I tell you what, can you make an inspiration roll first?
I will inspire confidence in this thing.
But you do indeed. So if you succeed, Chris, you'll get 2 extra successes.
Wonderful.
So it's jury rig roll. When you go in to make your roll, you just need to add the extra +2. Yeah. Well.
That's nice. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, damn.
So that's that's 6
easy.
successes. You've got 6 successes. You're like, oh, this is a doddle.
I might
So-
not be able to sail, but this is more like it.
Yeah. So you can do other things. So you can make it more durable. In fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So essentially, you've got the most amount of stunts you can possibly have for this. So not only do you fix it, you make the hull a little bit more durable. You give it a bit more protection. So actually, where the keel is, you kind of like fix it so it makes it easier to sort of, if it does scrape against the floor again, or any other buildings or anything under the water, it'll make it a little bit faster. And inadvertently, you've kind of like smoothed the hull out a little bit in doing it, just to give it that little bit of extra speed. So cool. Well done.
What a great little boat this is.
Okay, so that kind of takes you a bit of time, and as you kind of do that, it takes some time to get that sorted, and you realize that it's kind of like mid-afternoon now.
Oh man, we might not make it back in the daylight. I wonder if we should sleep here.
Like this, we found at least one interesting thing, and we didn't even go that far into the building. Like, look at all the buildings around here, and I'm sure there's interesting stuff in all of them. It's going to take us like half of the day to get back to the ship anyway,
Yeah, if you bomb it, it's going to probably, if you left now, you'd probably get back to your ark or the ship after darkfall.
What does Caspian say about like traveling in the dark? Is he like, yeah, it's probably not a great idea?
Yeah, he says traveling in the dark is probably not great because we don't really know the waters that well yet. So he said he's probably got a good idea that he'll be able to get you back on time, but it's just a bit more difficult.
Well, it seems safe enough and quiet enough. Like, we haven't seen anything here since we've been here for hours. We haven't been particularly quiet because we've been banging hammers on metal and screwdrivers and.
Yeah, there's you haven't seen anyone else at all.
Like, if someone was here, I'm pretty sure they would have turned up at some point in the last couple hours with us, making all the noise.
You've definitely not seen anyone pass this way. You've literally been either on the boat or in the building. There's nothing in the building. There are definitely sort of like stairs going down and up, but you haven't really kind of gone either direction. And what you've also got is other buildings. So there's probably, if you were to count them, Douglas, you could probably count maybe 20 or so other buildings at different heights sticking out of the water. You've not looked underneath the water, so you don't know how deep down it goes. But you're in an open ocean. So
is there like a tallest building that would be like the highest above the water level?
there's probably one about 4 or 5 buildings away. And it's probably not more than sort of like maybe 800 meters from where you are.
Yeah. Well, we're less likely to get wet by going into like the tallest one. If we go all the way up to like the deck of that ship building thing,
Yep,
would probably be a good place to camp out.
and you'd also probably get a very good view of what's going on.
I'd like a good view. Let's try that.
Let's see if we can make it over there.
All right. So, you know what I'm going to ask for? Can I please get an agility roll? Feel free if you want to club together. 2 of you can do it if you want. And if you want to, I think with the Inspire roll, I mean, I'm just going to double check your skill.
Yeah.
Whether or not
I haven't
Inspire
actually
is
seen a
like-
limitation on it. I went and looked at in the Forge. It didn't say like,
so it says you can, it doesn't say that you only have to use it once per session or anything like that.
I can literally just sit here and not participate, but just tell everyone how great they're doing.
Yeah.
It helps. I'm helping. Yeah,
Yep, that's fine.
I'll roll my inspiration now just to see what they get. There we go. So,
Okay.
there's a couple of successes there.
Nice.
So you've kind of got you've seen that sort of the way you've kind of had the boat and sort of how everyone's working together, and you kind of like impart that knowledge and kind of keep them going and stuff like that. So who wants to make the rolls? I guess I say who. It's going to be Chris, Pete. So if you both want to make a roll, either or wits and or agility of your choice.
Is there a bonus from the inspiration?
There is.
Well, I think I'm getting the hang of this.
It just means if you get a success, then his inspired successes also work. So, well, look at that.
Look at us. We're so
think-
inspired.
I mean, yeah, you guys have got the hang of this now.
Or it might be just due to the wind direction.
It could well be that too, but you know.
Also, the boat's almost indestructible, so even if we bounce off things, it doesn't matter.
So yeah, you make your way very briefly and very quickly across to the larger building. It's the biggest of all of them. It does have, I mean, it's probably sticking out of the water. You've probably got at least another 10 levels to go, you reckon, if you were to sort of like judge how far up it would be. You find a decent place to moor the ship and you can get in through one of the large open windows that's on the side.
This is amazing.
Guess look for a stairwell or stairway or something.
Yep. You kind of get in, much the same that you saw in the other one. This whole floor has been kind of like cleared out by wave action. Everything's wet and dank and there's bits of seaweed sticking in, and you find a couple of like small crabs sort of like clustering around in some pots in either corners. But you do indeed come to a set of stairs heading up.
Well, let's then, I guess. If the ground floor looks like it's picked over already.
Yeah. Is it like a fire escape sort of thing?
Yeah.
Where we can like look up and can I just like glance down into the murky depths?
Yeah, you glance down into the murky depths. It doesn't go, it probably goes no more than 3 or 4 foot, maybe a meter or so. And then it just goes into darkness. You can't see. If you look up, yeah, you can look up and you can see it goes up further. There you can see lights of shaft coming through the bits where there's either old windows or cracks in the building. So you kind of illuminates that as well. So even though you don't have any actual torches or anything like that, you reckon the low light means you'd be able to see enough to go up the stairs and look around.
Onwards and upwards.
Yeah, it would be good if we could, explore this place while it's still daylight out, and then maybe we can scrounge something to make a nice campfire for overnight.
Oh, that's a plan. Yes, wood and stuff.
I presume down here there's no point looking because everything's too wet.
Yeah, there's nothing that would be, and you probably where you are down here, even if you were to like try and set up camp, you probably, if there's any like large wave action, if there's a storm or anything.
Let's find somewhere safer higher up.
Not ideal. Okay. Cool. Can one of you please make a scout roll? Just the one of you. Who wants to do it?
I don't particularly. I'd be
Does
at
anyone
3.
have scout? That's probably the first question. I don't have scout. So.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, I've just
figured
got
neither
3.
of you do. Are you going to take Caspian with you, or are you going to leave Caspian in the boat? Caspian's going to stay in the boat. That makes more sense.
Well, I guess
Nobody
I'd better
can steal
lead.
it now.
Yeah.
I guess I'd better lead. My
Go on,
scouting
then.
isn't great, but I can hit things if anything
Great.
crops up.
Yeah, do it.
Okay. As you start to make your way up the stairs, you kind of like go up the first floor, but this floor seems to be locked. You can't seem to get through the door. So you go up to the next floor. As you get up to the next floor, you can hear movement coming from a couple of floors above you. What's that? Do you have Know the Zone by some chance as a skill?
No.
Okay. Well,
We are the worst explorers. We really are. Yeah.
Well, we thought we had Caspian, right? I mean, yeah.
you do. Okay. Yeah.
There's something there. Who knows what
There's
it is?
something you can hear noise coming. You can't kind of work out exactly what the role, what it is, but there's definitely something going on. I think Know the Zone is actually a skill that you can use your regular skill with, I think. So
It's wits based.
I think it's
So
wits.
Oh, yeah.
So
Wits, yeah.
can one of you please make a wits roll?
Shall I do it as I'm in the lead again?
Sure.
yeah.
Okay. In fact, you can add an extra dice. So just roll one of those dice again. Don't push it, just roll dice. So just hit one of the D6s in the dice tray at the bottom. No idea. Yeah, there's noise coming from above you. You don't know what it is, but you can hear it.
Well, I guess I'd better creep up and investigate.
Okay.
Yeah, surely it's nothing to worry about. It's probably gulls or something.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
I mean, best case scenario is something we can have for dinner.
This is very true. I like the positivity that's going on here.
I'll take out my scrap axe just in case and try
Okay.
creeping up the stairs.
That makes sense. Okay. You creep up the stairs.
Be a sneak roll, will it?
Yeah, make a sneak roll. Why not? That's a success for you, sir. Let me make a roll too. Okay, then. And you start sneaking up further. You keep going and you get to one of these large doors. So you can see every single floor has one of these doors, which has a large sort of heavy door component. And there's a strip of like little windows in each one of them. Most of them are sort of like cracked or broken. This one itself is actually completely shut. It's completely sort of like boarded up from the other side, but there's definitely noise coming from the other side of this door. You can hear the scratching and pittering and pattering on the other side of the door.
Does that sound big?
It's difficult to tell.
Does the door look pretty secure to this level?
Yeah, it appears to be quite secure. There's obviously this is the only way that you can see to get in. There is like a large sort of like handle on the other side. On this side, it looks like you push the handle and then you pull, and that will open the door. You've tried some of the others. They all seem to be locked from the other side, but you haven't tried this one, but you can hear the noise coming from the other side of the door.
Well, party, do we want to investigate this or should we push further on up the stairwell?
Well, I mean, if we don't know what's in there, then we won't be able to have a quiet night here, right? This might come back and bite us. I wonder if there's any way to lock the door from the outside so that we know they can come for us, whatever it is.
Yeah,
Jam it.
I mean, you could jam it from this side and sort of like put a jam in it, and that would mean that they wouldn't be able to come this way, or the thing couldn't come this way.
That would be good enough for me.
Yeah, you look around and you can find sort of like a piece of metal or something to just jam into the bottom of the door. No problem, you can do that.
I like that. Yeah, this is much better than, controlling a room full of something. A noisy room full of something too. Ugh.
I guess we'll continue up to the top and then see if there's anything there. And then if it's good enough, we can start looking on the upper floors for things to burn.
Okay. You make your way towards the rest of the building. You keep going up and you come across yet more doors as you try them, as you're making your way through. Yeah, you realize that a lot of the doors themselves either seem to be jammed shut or locked shut for whatever reason. So you're finding obviously that you're not really getting the places that you want to get to.
Yeah, this house is a bit lame. Where's everywhere locked? I mean, I'm still hoping to get that nice view from the top. So if the top floor's also locked, then I'm like, we need to break one of these doors. But just right now, I'm like, as long as we can get one floor open.
Yeah. Well, the light's coming from somewhere, so hopefully there's a cracker sign up there. We can.
It appears that you're in like the corner of one of these of the building, and so every now and then you kind of like come across a bit where the building itself is broken. And you catch a sliver of light and you the sea and the buildings beyond as you go up the staircase. So clearly it's in the, if you were to kind of orientate yourself on the building, you're on the bottom left of the building, and that's the lift shaft. Presumably there'll be another lift shaft. In fact, there is on the other side, diagonally opposite from where you were going. So you could go all the way back down again and go all the way back up on the other side if you want to try another way in. But yeah, you keep going. Are you gonna, as you keep going, you keep going up the stairs, you're sort of like starting to get, you haven't done this kind of like going up and down stairs for a while. So your thighs are starting to ache a little bit. And you reckon you've gone up 10 flights of stairs and you come to the door. The door is open. It's just partially open and slightly swinging. Okay. I guess, Roach, you're up ahead.
Yeah, I'll gingerly open the door and peer through.
You open the door and you see a lot more light coming in. You appear to be on the top floor of this building. You can see, as soon as you open the door, directly ahead of you, you can see glass, or what was once glass in some of the panes. And it's this whole panoramic view. And you can see straight out into the open ocean. And you can see that this was some kind of like viewing platform or something like that as you come out of the door into the building or into the rooms. You can see there are lots of smaller tables kicking around that have just been randomly collected here, and lots of like chairs, that kind of thing. You can see there's a balcony to the northern part of the building and a balcony to the sort of eastern part of the building. Yeah, it's this big open expanse.
Well, I'll turn back to the stairwell and, hey, Moss, I think we've found your view.
Wonderful. Yeah, I would like to explore if those balconies are safe. We could maybe, I presume this is something that Cochrane's kind of interested in also. Maybe you can map things. Are you good with a pen like that?
Not really, but I usually, more oral history than just remembering things. So I've got quite a good memory.
Yeah, I mean, now that we've, made it all the way up here, I feel like this is a great vantage point from which to plan out where we can go over the next couple of days.
Can we actually see the Ark from here?
Well, you need to kind of make your way through the room to sort of one of the balconies to have a look. Probably. I mean, you can go and have a look.
Yeah, I'll try and do that. Try and go see if I can see home.
Yeah, you kind of head over to
I can see my house from here.
It's a bit like that, right? So you kind of go over there. If you want to make as you make your way towards the balcony, you can see there's some doors. Yeah, and as you kind of sort of make your way across, you can see sort of on the balcony itself, there's sort of like these little pillars with these large, in fact, make a comprehend roll for me.
I do not have comprehend, so can I comprehend this at all?
No. Yeah, make a wits roll. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So attached to a bunch of these large sticks is the same sort of thing that you saw Caspian have.
Two cylinders.
Which look like two cylinders combined with each other, which look into different directions. But there's about 8 of them, and they're all on sticks, looking in different directions.
It was Caspian who got those.
Yeah, Caspian who had them.
Did he explain what they were? Did he figure out what they were?
Did he figure out what they were?
He tried them, didn't he?
He tried. Yeah, he tried them. Yes, and so he basically explained that they have some kind of optical thing going on in them which makes you see things further away than they actually are.
Then I will attempt the same process I've seen him use them with and be like, oh, you put your eye to some end and then you look through it.
Pretty much. You do that and the world kind of is a bit blurry, but then as you kind of concentrate, you can see the large column thing in the distance on the island. You can also make out the sort of like beginnings of where the spiders were, but you can't see far enough to see where your home is from here, I'm afraid. But this goes all the way around the building, so you can do that all the way across. So what that essentially means is you can scout the next zone ahead of you without actually going into the zone.
Awesome.
How handy.
Man, I would love to have one of these on the Ark. Do you think we could take this off the sticks, Moss?
I'd love to explore for that. Yeah. I mean, there's so many of them here. They wouldn't miss 2 or 3, right?
No.
I take my wrench to the things and see if I can pry one loose.
Make a jury rig roll. Absolutely, you can. You realize it's simply just held by bolts to the floor. And so you kind of like find the best tool and you start undoing it. And I mean, it's heavy, but yeah, you can pull it out. It's
So
going
I've
to
got
take
the
two.
thing on the stick now rather than it.
You've got
I
the
can whack
thing on the
somebody
stick.
over the head with it. See?
I mean, it takes two of you to sort of like move it around. It's quite thick and heavy. But yeah.
Actually,
you
probably
yeah.
Pete can whack somebody over the head with it because he's strong like that.
Yeah,
Casper's
right.
going to be so
Yeah.
jealous because mine is bigger than his. Therefore, is superior.
So I'm going to ask, none of you actually have Scout, which is hilarious. But I'm going to be quite generous. There's three of you and there's three directions you can look that you haven't been to yet. So, Chris, do you want to look north, south, or west?
I'd like to look north.
Look north. Can you make a Scout roll for me looking north?
Oh, it's horribly dark in the north.
Take it you failed. Okay, right. Well, so you look to the north. It's open ocean. As far as the eye can see, it's just open ocean. There's nothing else there, and you can't see anything of any interest whatsoever. Who wants to look west or south? Douglas, which way do you want to look?
I guess I already started looking. No, I was looking east. I was looking at previously,
looking
so
east,
I
yeah.
will look south.
Okay.
Pure wits, is it? Since we all suck at scouting,
Yes, it is.
suck at wits. So let's see
Excellent.
with my 2 dice. No,
No. So, yeah, you look south. So what you can see, looking south, you've got more open ocean, and you can see where the headland juts out of the island, and it continues on southward, and it looks like the island itself then tends to go southeast. So clearly you've kind of come around the about the most western edge of this island, and then it continues on south. You don't see anything else of anything. It looks pretty plain, and the edge of that island just looks very barren. It doesn't appear to look like there's anything there.
I guess I'll better peer out to the west.
Indeed.
And I also
Love it.
I tried looking through the large inn just in case.
You kind of look out, you can see there's an island, and from beyond the island, it looks like yet more open ocean. It doesn't appear to go anywhere else. Yeah, you can see that there is sort of like another large building, like a tall building. The island itself is sort of covered in this yellowy kind of haze that sort of like seems to surround the island, which means you can't really see anything further along past the water. So yeah, from where you are, that's pretty much what you can see. Again, you can't really tell if there's anything else there or any sort of like of anything of any note. But yeah, so excellent. So that's what you do. That kind of takes you sort of like, you reckon that's kind of taking you a bit of time, and sort of like the light starts to fade. And as the light starts to fade, you can hear that noise again coming from the floor. The sort of like scratching noise. And just as you're sort of like, kind of like, okay, well, what do we do? Where do we go from here? You start to see things starting to come up from the floor, which is not what you was expecting. We're just going to like throw you around the building. Yeah, it appears that there's a bunch of small sort of cat-shaped or cat-size, I suppose, standard cat-size rats, which seem to have been now pouring out of the hole. You realize that the flooring and stuff is all sort of chewed through, which you just thought was sort of like floor damage. And you can make out these rats starting to sort of like come up out of the floor. They're chittering and they're making this scratchy noise with their long little talons. And they kind of seem to be sniffing the air looking towards you three.
And
A couple of them sort of like make some chittering noises, and a bunch of smaller ones come up behind them. Before you know it, there is a swarm of rats coming up, and their mouths starting to slather and sort of foam up. And with a tentative sort of like couple of steps forward, they sort of like make their way towards you all. Right, what is it you'd like to do?
I just jump on a table.
You can indeed just jump on a table, which you do. You jump on a table. What does Mus want to do?
jumping on a table seems like a brilliant idea, and I hope I can achieve that in order to, from a safe spot where they're not going to gnaw my toes,
That's
hit
fine.
them with my lovely bicycle chain.
Cool. And Rich, what about yourself?
I'll probably try and back into a corner so they can't come at me from multiple directions, and
Okay.
so I can swing my axe at them if needs be.
Seems like a plan. All right. Yeah, you kind of back yourself into a corner. You can then see that the swarm starts to make their way towards the nearest table, and a good sort of like 10 or 15 of them jump onto the table from a standing Crap.
That was helpful.
You're like, okay, that's not quite great. And they start to swarm out from there, around there. After their tentative sniffs, they make a lot of tittering noises and they rush towards you in this large swarm.